All right. I want to stick with the education issue for just a moment. We've discussed here many times the left has a well-documented agenda to indoctrinate school children. In response, like with the bill passed in Florida, 7 states have passed laws that ban teaching of critical race theory in K-12 education. But a recent investigation by Accuracy in Media revealed school districts can easily evade such laws simply by calling their CRT lessons by a different name. Accuracy in Media exposed this happening in Tennessee and Idaho, but these were just 2 of many examples of parental rights being trampled in the classroom by educational administrators and teachers. Even as so many students have fallen behind the past few years due to the COVID restrictions and remote classrooms, we're not focusing on the core curriculum issues. Here to talk with us about this and more is Meg Kilgannon, Senior Fellow for Education Studies here at the Family Research Council. Meg, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back, Tony.
So we have some undercover video that shows that they're circumventing the law. They're violating the law.
Right. They want to get this material to students, right? They want to teach these concepts in the classroom. And so if it is prohibited by law in one form, they will slip it under the radar in another form. They talked about using social-emotional learning and mental health as the code words to hide this kind of information. And, we have our paper on the website, SPLC's Radical Learning for Justice. That paper outlines how the Southern Poverty Law Center has relationships with teacher colleges all over the country, and one of them is in Boise, Idaho. And so they've been working in that state for many, many years, decades, to produce the kind of teachers who think that this is critical information for students to have, and they are 100% taught. The teachers themselves are indoctrinated in the necessity for this kind of material to go into the classroom, and so of course they're perfectly willing to subvert the will of the legislature.
I mean, this is a violation of the law. So how do we hold them accountable?
The vigilance, this explosion of interest you've seen on the part of parents in terms of engaging with their children on what they're being taught and going to the school board meetings, meeting with your child's teachers, knowing who their teachers are, and explaining what your expectations are. I mean, that kind of vigilance is what's necessary.
And in some of these laws that have been passed, we've seen a right of action in the legislation for the parents. And so, I mean, I, as a former legislator, I know that passing a law isn't even half of the battle.
Right.
The enforcement is the bulk of the battle because they will circumvent it. And unless you have an enforcement mechanism and there is a penalty for not doing it, it's not going to happen.
Well, and we also have to attack the foundations on which these ideologies rest. I mean, it needs to be understood by not just our supporters, but everyone, that ideologies like critical race theory and queer theory are Marxist ideologies, and they're designed to break people down in order to foment revolution for economic ends. And this is not what education's about.
And this has been accelerating in our public schools and our government schools over the last decade.
Yes.
And I mean, it has reached a critical point.
Yes, the long march through the institutions that people refer to,
Right.
that they're referring to higher ed, but the people that have made that long march are the people who are forming the teachers that are teaching our children in grade school and high school.
I know I beat this drum a lot, but parents, God has given you both the authority and the responsibility to educate your children. And, as parents, we can delegate the authority, but we can never delegate the responsibility, and we'll be held accountable by God for how we raise our children. And so I think it's extremely important now that we are, engaged, because even if we can get our children out of public schools, we've homeschooled our kids, that's a great option. Private schools, more churches are coming together to create other co-ops and different types of options. But there's still going to be the bulk of kids for the foreseeable future are going to be trapped in these government indoctrination centers. And the only way to begin to bring reason and salvage public education is going to be by parents getting involved, running for school boards, Christians becoming teachers in the classroom. We can't abandon the public schools, but we shouldn't sacrifice our children to them.
Absolutely. There are wonderful Christian teachers in public schools right now, and when parents engage at the school board level and they engage with teachers, it really helps. It helps make it possible for those Christian teachers to be more engaged in governance processes within their schools and to represent the worldview that we know is so absent from that space, from the top down. We're going to have to bring it in from the bottom up.
Well, given the darkness of the hour and the culture in which we live, having Christian teachers and administrators in our public schools, in these government schools, is probably the only light some of these children will ever see.
Sure. And they, we do need to appreciate the value of the institution of public education for so many children who are coming from chaotic home environments. The family is in crisis, and the schools do meet the gap in that to a large degree, and that's part of the pressure that's on them that allows this stuff.
Shouldn't be that way.
Shouldn't be that
but
way.
It is.
Exactly. We can have a conversation about why, or what we could do differently, but that is the situation on the ground.
Very quickly, Meg, FRC Action has some resources for those engaging in education.
We do. They are at www.frcaction.org/schools. We have our school board boot camp, lots of videos there. We're going to have a new one out soon on how to raise money for groups and for candidacies and for running for office. And the Worldview team is doing a program on April 12th, I believe, on how your church can start a school.
Okay.
So,
very timely. Very timely. Meg Kilgannon, always great to have you on the program.
thank you.
Appreciate it.